The number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Hello and welcome once again to another episode of Captain Captivate. Today what we're going to be reviewing is the Web 2.0 tool known as Prezi. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump right into it here, and I'm going to go ahead and open up my browser window. And you can see this is Prezi, and for those of you that haven't been there before, it's prezi.com, Prezi.com, and you should come up to a website that looks something like this. The first thing that I want to point out to you is that it is free to set up for general users out there, but there are also for educators is educational accounts that you can get. So to access that, you can either go to the sign up option here to get the free account, or if I click on the pricing tab over here on the right hand side, it's going to open up a window to where you can see here's your standard account. So you have your public, enjoy, and pro. If I scroll down here, you'll see there's an option for student and teacher licenses. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the go button right there. And you can see instead of that kind of enjoy button, you have the edu enjoy. And basically what that does is it just gives you a couple more options as far as making your content private, adding your logo instead of Prezi's trademark logo. And then it also adds additional storage space for you. So all you have to do to obtain that is click the get button. And you'll come out to this area here, and you'll just have to fill out some registration information, and you should be all set with your online educator account for Prezi. So once you have an account for Prezi all set up, the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to log into the system. So to log into Prezi, over here on the right hand side, if I go ahead and click log in, you can see I'm just going to pop in my email address and my password. Once I select log in, it's going to take me over to Prezi's dashboard, and that is separated into 3 different tabs. So here you can see the first tab that's highlighted is My Prezis. So you can see these are all the kind of presentations that I've created using Prezi, or I'm currently working on. And then also we have this middle tab here where it says Learn, and basically what that is that gives you access to a lot of different tutorials built within Prezi, so you can kind of learn the ropes as you go. And then finally, the third one is called Explore. And really what that does is that's going to open up some different examples for you to use. So if I go ahead and kind of look at this Coca-Cola one very quickly, you can see once it gets loaded up, I can actually click through it. Okay, here we go. So here's our little Coca-Cola presentation. You can see there's a lot of different little slides built around the bottle here. So really what we can do with Prezi, if I go ahead and hit the forward button, you can see it zooms in on different slides, and we're going to go over how to kind of build those slides and how to be able to zoom in and zoom out kind of seamlessly using this tool. So if I go ahead and hit the next button, you can see that we go into essentially what's slide 2, and then slide 3, slide 4, and slide 5, and essentially you get the idea that these slides that are kind of built around the bottle kind of give you a breakdown of Coca-Cola and the company. So really that's what we're going to be going over, is kind of the basic navigation of how to build these slides and how to kind of focus in on key areas and really make a nice interactive presentation using Prezi. Okay, so to actually create my own Prezi, what I have to do is I have to make sure I come up here and click on the Your Prezis tab again to bring me back to this general area. And you can see these are some projects that I've already created, but in this case what we want to do is create a new Prezi. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And in this case, I'm going to do a character breakdown of Twilight, very brief. And I'm going to select New Prezi to go ahead and get that created. And you can see here that Prezi kind of gives you, especially with the education version, 6 different templates to choose from. So you have understanding a topic, business pitch, our project, introduce an idea, or a resume. And in this case, what I want to do is I'm going to use the understanding a topic, so I already have some kind of pre-generated shapes and frames to work with. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And you can see that I can either go back to select another template, or if I want, I can start editing. What I'm going to go ahead and do is start editing this particular template. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to erase our little friend down here in the lower right hand corner. And for those of you that are familiar with the smartboard, everything within Prezi is basically a clickable object. So you have all your frames here, your text, a lot of different things. So in this case, this little gentleman down here in the corner if I click on him, you can see once he's highlighted, if I click on the outer ring, the dotted line, I can rotate him. If I click on the center palm, I can actually move him. If I want him larger or smaller, I can click on the plus or minus sign in this middle wheel. Or if I click inside that middle wheel and drag, I can make him larger or smaller. And if I want to edit him in any way, resize it, or crop the photo down a little bit when I'm all done, if I just click outside, you can see it kind of cuts his hand off. But in this case, I just want to delete him. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight him. I have to make sure my wheel's highlighted, and I'm just going to hit the delete button on my keyboard to get rid of him. Okay? So to edit information that's already here, it's very straightforward. So now, right here where it says understand a topic, I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And again, I can rotate everything, I can resize it, but what I want to do is just edit the text. So I'm going to go ahead and click the little pencil icon. And within here, I'm just going to say from Twilight. And the first thing you'll notice is that my text is a little big. So what I can do is I can highlight it, and I can change the text down here with the template I've chosen. It gives me kind of 3 basic options. I can use kind of the marker, this little kind of 3D area, or just a regular body text. And once I have the text picked out where I want it, if I just click the OK button and I highlight it again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shrink it down a little bit. So I'm going to hit the little minus sign and move it up a little. So with that, you can see I kind of have my main idea. Here's my character descriptions from the movie Twilight. And right here it says overview to share relations. I'm going to go ahead and kind of delete that. And I'm going to delete this guy too, because it's just kind of more of giving general directions. I am going to keep the arrows, however, just to kind of give you an idea of the flow of this particular description. So what I want to do now is that now that I kind of have my main slide selected, I want to work on my 3 slides that are over here. Okay, so here we have subject 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my text, and I'm actually going to zoom in on it first. So to zoom in, I can actually click anywhere on my canvas here and slide it to the middle. And again, to zoom in, I just have to use either my mouse wheel, I can use the zoom in, zoom out function over here, or if I have my trackpad, I can use my kind of 2 fingers or click and drag to kind of zoom in on that. So once we're here, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the pencil tool, and I'm going to put in my 3 main characters. We have Edward Cullen. Here it says is important, and then I'm just going to click outside and kind of drag down to subject 2, click my edit button and type in Jacob Black. And no, I do not know these by heart, I'm just memorize them for the purposes of this. Jacob Black is important too. And then if I scroll down to subject 3 and click on my edit button, I'm just going to type in Bella Swan. So that is kind of a rough idea of how to come in and actually generate basic text. Okay, now as far as these frames go, so the little circle that kind of surrounds these outlying areas and the arrows and the frames, those can be found over here on the right hand side. So basically, by default within Prezi, everything's kind of set up on this right tool. So basically, to go in and edit anything, to manipulate objects, to move things around, you have to be on this default tool, which is right. Okay, and to change things around, or to add different objects, if you want to add any one of these frames, now the frames can be used in a few different ways. One way is you can frame things to kind of set up your path, so when you want to animate your presentation, you'd actually key off the frames rather than text or images to kind of set up your slide, and we'll kind of go over that in a minute. Other ways is just to kind of divide up your presentation a little bit to kind of set up sections so you know where certain things go. So it's kind of that visual organization that you're working with. But I'm going to go ahead and select frame, and you can see here I have 4 different types of frames that I can use. I can use kind of this gapped frame, which we have right here, or brackets is probably a better word for it. I have the circle, which is used here, and I have just a basic kind of rounded square frame. So if I click on that, I just want to kind of give you an idea. All I have to do is click and drag to create the frame, and you can see it's not very prominent in this particular template, but I can go ahead and click on it. If I want to get rid of it, I can just hit delete. And I can also do what's called a hidden frame, and hidden frames are built Essentially, if you want to zoom in on certain areas, or when you go to actually animate your Prezi and you don't want these frames to kind of stick out, or if you just kind of want them to be hidden and you want to focus more on the content themselves, that's where you can really utilize hidden frames. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and kind of fill out some of the information on this presentation and kind of move into more of the formatting and animating. We have some content here that I've already populated, so if you look over here, you can just kind of see that I've added some very generic information, then some little itty-bitty titles down in here. What I wanted to show quickly is that you see that I have some images in there. I just want to show you some of the different multimedia that you can actually add into Prezi presentation. So to do that, again, by default, I'm back on my writing tab here. I just need to click on my insert tab. And what you'll notice is that I can insert shapes. So these are a variety of different shapes that I can create. I can draw arrows, straight lines, I can do free drawing, I can do marker shapes, I can do all sorts of different little things. I can import YouTube video directly into it, so if I know the link, if I know where I'm going, I can actually just type in my search parameters and add a YouTube video. I can create a graphic organizer right within Prezi, so I don't really have to go through kind of that abstract piece there. But in this case, what I want to do is add an image, and you also have the ability to add a file, which is audio, video. Typical audio, they usually request an MP3 file. That's the only one that'll go up. In video is very tricky. They only like FLV files. So what I recommend is, using a converter like Zamzar, MediaConverter.org, or even ConvertFiles.com to convert those files to FLV. Once they're in FLV form, as long as they're within the size limit of your presentations, they will go up without a problem. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and actually add my image in. So I'm going to click on my image tab, and you can see here it's very standard. And I'm going to go ahead and select my picture of Bella Swan. And you can see it puts her kind of right where my cursor last was. So to move that around, I just have to click on it. Well, maybe. And actually I have to move this out of the way due to kind of the layering. So there, now that I've moved her over, I just have to click my wheel to kind of straighten her up a little bit. And now I'm going to click on my text and move that over. And you just see I have a couple minor adjustments to do. So there we go. So again, I kind of have some generic content built for my presentation. And forgive me, my fingers are kind of slipping all over the place on my Prezi here. That's why it's zooming in and out. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and animate this. So to animate, I have to come over here back into my toolbar here and select my path. Now, you can see that because we chose a template, one's already been created for us. But what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to go ahead and delete all. So basically what that's going to do, that's going to take away all of my animation, and I get to basically start from scratch. So there's a couple different ways that I can animate things. I can animate things by object. So basically what I have to do is wherever I want my Prezi presentation to go, I just have to click on it. So if I click on character descriptions from Twilight, it will center my zoom view right on the character descriptions. If I want to actually do it on the frame, so it centers around the frame rather than on the text, I can do that as well. That's another kind of use of frames that we talked about. So instead of zooming directly on an Edward Cullen, it'd probably look something like this, to where you kind of lose the points of your slide. If I actually put the path on the frame, it'll center the frame, so it'll center all the content in and just kind of put it in more of a slide view. Okay, so I'm going to center this up and zoom in a little bit. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just start numbering my paths. So in this case, I'm going to use my circle. And actually, no, I'm going to use my center. So there's my starting point, and you can see it puts it down here in a menu at the bottom. And now I'm going to go to number 2, which is my frame here. So you can see now that's how my frame's going to be centered. So you have all my slide presentations. And now what I'm going to do is I added some text really, really small inside that particular slide. I'm going to click on that. That's going to be point number 3 in that slide. Okay, now I'm going to zoom back out. And I'm going to move on to slide number 2 here. And I'm going to click on the frame to center that. And you can see everything within that frame will be centered. I have to zoom in on my little text that I added here. And I'm going to zoom back out. And again, we have our last frame here of Bella. And then I'm actually going to click on my circle again, so it goes from characters from Twilight description, and then finally, the last and final point, it is a formula for money, and I'm going to go ahead and center that right on the circle. So that's all there is to really animating or creating the animation scheme for your presentation. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the right button to bring it back to kind of default view. Now, to actually see what this looks like, down here in the lower right-hand corner, if I click on the show button, it's going to put my presentation into show mode. Okay, so now all I have to do is very similar to PowerPoint. If I just start clicking through, you'll see here's my slide 1, here's slide 2, there's slide 3, out to slide 4, here's point 5, out to point 6, number 7, and then finally formula for money number 8. So that's really kind of the basics on how to create something in Prezi. Now you can get pretty advanced with some of the different things that you can do. Like I said, you can add a lot of video, you can add images, you can add designs, you can trace around different designs. There's really no limit. And what I suggest is at some point, if you go through some of the examples that they have and some of the better examples and just really see some of the different ways that you can kind of take advantage of the way that Prezi kind of presents things for you. So that's really kind of an overview of creating basic content within Prezi. Just one more thing I kind of want to go over up here is that there is an autosave feature. So again, if I go ahead and click save, everything I do is saved. I have my undo button. I have a meeting, so really what I can do is I can start an online presentation, so I'll just put in presentation mode. Or I can invite folks to edit it, so I actually can come in and collaborate with different people. I can print my presentation. Prezi has a built-in help feature. And to actually exit this and go back out to my kind of dashboard area, if I go ahead and select the exit button, it'll take me out to kind of the slideshow view of my presentation, and you can see here I can go back to my dashboard. Or you'll notice here I can edit it. I can edit together so I can have folks collaborate. I can view together so I can put it out in kind of a slideshow mode and have different folks come in to kind of view it online. I can download it as kind of a flash object. I can save a copy, or I can delete. There are other options. There are embeddable options as well, depending on the different setups that you have and depending if you have it marked private or public. So you should be able to embed that in any web page that you have out there. And as I said, if I click on the share up button down here, we have our viewing option. So we have just the hyperlink out to it. Here's my embed code. And then here's my editing that I can send out to different people to come in and actually come in and edit my presentation. So you can see there's a lot of collaborative areas that you can use this into, so everybody can kind of be working within one space. And again, it's just a very neat presentation tool, and it's kind of different from the norm. And again, it functions in a way to where you can use it on any computer as long as it has Flash installed on it. You can present it anywhere. You can collaborate on it, you know, very similar to the way kind of Google Docs and things like that work. And again, you're not kind of limited to a computer lab or using PowerPoint. You can kind of use it anywhere that has a web browser. So that is a quick overview of Prezi, and that wraps up this edition of Captain Captivate.